we headed for another housing crash? I shed some light on this in today's video. Hey everyone, I'm Jason Zwolak of the Zwolak Group with First Team and Christie's International Real Estate. Before I get started today, make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Being in this industry, we're being asked daily by our clients, friends, family, how's the market? Are we going into another recession? Is housing going to crash? I wanted to make this video to really keep you informed using the data that has been gathered. However, before we dive in, I do want to acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of people hurting right now financially, and we really don't know how long this will last. No doubt people will be impacted and some devastated by this crisis. The information in this video is just that, information. We are always looking at trends, indicators to try to predict the future. However, this is not a crystal ball, and it is not perfect. At the same time, I feel it is important to get this out to you. So first off, I wanted to talk about what a recession is, or the R word, because it's been on a lot of people's minds long before COVID-19 appeared. We've been out talking to clients and out at doing open houses, and people are always talking about, hey, I'm going to wait for the housing to crash. I'm going to wait because it has to come down. And really, we have been on such a great, amazing economic run that it has to end at some point. Unfortunately, that some time is now, and it is hitting the US and the world hard. Before COVID-19, the market was on fire, especially here in Orange County. Homes were appreciating, supply was low, and buyers were tripping all over themselves. In the first 3 months, appreciation was 6.1% here in Orange County. That's insane. Now that everything has grinded to a halt, I think it is important that we first define what a recession is. So let's take a look. A recession is a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. That's according to the National Bureau of Economic Research. Basically, if we have a negative GDP for 2 consecutive quarters, we are in a recession. Okay, so we're really starting that process right now. Bill McBride, the founder of Calculated Risk, was recently quoted as saying, "With the sudden economic stop and with many states shutting down by closing down schools, bars, and restaurants, my view is the U.S. economy is now in a recession." Brackets started in March 2020, and GDP will decline sharply in quarter 2. The length of the recession will depend on the course of the pandemic. Certainly it feels that as though we are in a recession, or at very least, we are heading that way quickly. This is a real estate channel. So if we are in or heading for a recession, what does that mean for the housing market? When people talk about a recession, they immediately think of the Great Recession of 2008 and the subsequent housing crash. This crash devastated so many people. We saw housing values drop almost 20% nationwide. It truly was devastating. However, it is surprising in 3 of the past 5 recessions, home values actually increased. So take a look here. So if we look at 1980, home values went up 6.1%. In 1981, they went up 3.5%. In 1991, they did dip. They were down 1.9%. And in 2001, they went up 6.6%. In 2008, they dropped almost 20%. So the thing here is that what's fresh in our mind is this 20%. And I think that's where everybody is going immediately when they hear the R word or they hear recession. Obviously, we had the 20% drop in 2008. The other decrease in home values happened in 1991. But those values only dropped 2.1%. The big question is, what is different now compared to 2008? There are actually 5 differences when we look at the housing market now and compare it to the housing market leading up to the crash in 2008. And I'm going to go over those now. The first difference, it is a lot more difficult to get a mortgage. In 2008, it was difficult not to get a mortgage. If we look at the Mortgage Credit Availability Index, which is a summary measure which indicates the availability of mortgage credit at a point in time. Basically, the higher the index, the easier it is to get a mortgage. So let's take a look at that. The historic data for the mortgage credit availability index is seen on this graph here. So when we look at leading up to 2008, this is 2008 here, where the housing bubble, where we had the sharp decline in the crash, you can see the higher the number, the easier it is to get a mortgage. We were quite high, close to the 900 mark on this index. Now we're just below 200. So you can see we're just above where we were at the bottom of the crash in down in here in 2009. So there's a huge difference in that number right now, and that's a reason why that it's a lot more difficult now to get a mortgage. And anybody that's gone to get a mortgage, you know, they're putting you through the ringer. They're asking you a lot of questions, and there's a lot of things that you have to do. Okay? So number 2, prices are not soaring out of control. Sure, they're appreciating. But if you compare the appreciation of in the 6 years leading up to the housing crash of 2008 to the last 6 years, you will see quite a significant difference. So let's take a look at that. So the annual home appreciation, if you look at the 6 years leading up to the crash, that's 2000 through 2005, you can see 8.6, 6.5, 8.5, 8.7, 12.5, 11.4. So these are massive numbers. Now the last 6 years, 4.4%, 5.2%, 5.5%, 6.4%, 4.8, and 4.7. Now again, this is on a national scale, so we have to some areas appreciate a lot higher, a lot faster than others, but this is on a national scale, and that's what we're going to look at today. So you can really see the difference in home appreciation comparing now compared to before. And we want to look at the normal appreciation rate is 3.6%. So even though we're above that rate now, we're nowhere near what we were in the early 2000s before the great crash. Okay. Number 3, we have a shortage of homes on the market. If we look at the market time in 2007 versus the market time now, there is a huge disparity. Okay. So let's take a look at the market times and compare those. So we look at 2007, the average market time was 8.2 months. So essentially what that means is that if no other houses were to come on the market in 8.2 months, all the houses would be gone. Today, it's 3.1 months. Now, this is changing. I will say that because we are seeing homes sit longer as we go longer into this stay in place order that is going on right now. This will change, and I think but this is what we want to look at leading up to it, and I think that's a big indicator. So, and again, we're just looking at these now, and we're trying to predict the future if we can, to see if we're going to go into the same type of crash as we did in 2008. So that is a huge indicator of where we are in just number of homes that are available right now. Number 4, houses became way too expensive. In 2006, homes were priced high, wages were low, and interest rates were 6%. Okay? Now, albeit homes today are still priced high, but wages have gone up, and interest rates are hovering in the mid-3s. Right? So this all leads to homes being more affordable. So when we look at the affordability of these homes, let's take a look at what those numbers show so we can go from there. So when we look at the affordability in these homes leading up to the recession, the affordability in one of these houses, when a percent of median income needed to purchase a median priced home was 25.4%. So the percentage of your income was a quarter to buy a median priced home, and that was with a median income. Today, it's down 10%. It's 15.5%. So only 15.5% of your income is needed to purchase a median priced home, and that's on a median income buying a median priced home. These are the way we have to work these numbers. Obviously, they're going to fluctuate as you move throughout the income spectrum and the home price spectrum. So that's another great indicator of where we are. The fifth and final, and I think this one is, when I looked at these numbers, it was crazy. It's people are equity rich right now. They're not tapped out. This is one of the most surprising and mind-boggling stats that I found when going through the info for this video. Right now, in the US, over 50% of the homes have greater than 50% equity. Amazing. That's great. People are equity rich. Why is that? People are more cautious. They aren't using their homes as bank machines to buy frivolous BS, right? They're not going out and buying a bunch of crap. So let's take a look at the home equity cash out right now and see what that shows. So the total home equity cashed out, and this is in billions if we look at this. So look at the 3 years leading up to the recession. 2005, 263 billion. 2006, 321 billion. 2007, 240 billion, for a total of $824 billion. Now, 2017, 71 billion. 2018, 87 billion. 2019, 74 billion, for a total of 232 billion. So almost 600 billion less have been pulled out of people's houses. That 2019 numbers is important to note. They used the first three quarters from Freddie Mac and estimated 20 billion for the fourth quarter. That's how they came up with that number, because those numbers aren't actually in full yet, but it's a good estimate. I don't think it's going to be 600 billion, so I don't think it's going to be up to that total number here. So we're a significant smaller amount of people are actually pulling money out of their house. So leading up to the crash of 2008, people were pulling money out. They were buying boats, they were buying cars, they were taking vacations. They were essentially taking money out of an appreciating asset, their house, and putting it into a depreciating asset, stuff, right? In this situation, when home values started to fall, owners ended up with negative equity. They owed more on their home than it was actually worth. So what did they do? They just left. That led to the huge number of foreclosures and short sales. Now, when a foreclosure or short sale sells, what happens? It sells for a screaming deal. And when that screaming deal is sold, these homes are discounted, and that actually affects all of the houses in the neighborhood, right? So all of those values start to go down. In the past 3 years, people have been using their equity mostly on improving their house. They're basically putting their money back into an appreciating asset. Also, they've been pulling it out for college. So those are the two main things that they're using, maybe putting their kids through college or themselves going back to school. So it's really important to see what they're doing. This shows that homeowners really did learn their lesson from 2008, and so did the lenders. What does the future hold? Unfortunately, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. According to Bloomberg, according to Bloomberg, one of the quotes that they are recently quoted as saying, several economists made it clear that the extent of the economic wreckage will depend on factors such as how long the virus lasts, whether governments will loosen fiscal policy enough, and can markets avoid freezing up. We can only hope that this turns around soon. Once we do turn the bend, there are several institutions that believe we will recover quickly. Goldman Sachs GDP forecast actually shows that we're going to see a negative first quarter of negative 6%, a massive drop in the second quarter of minus 24%, and then a bounce back in quarter 3 and quarter 4, and that'll lead into that continuing to bounce back in quarter 1 of 2021. Again, these are forecasts. We don't know if these are gonna hold true. I certainly hope they do, but we'll only see. Wells Fargo Investment agrees with Goldman Sachs. They were recently quoted as saying, once the virus infection rate peaks, we expect a recovery to gain momentum into the final quarter of the year and especially into 2021. I know this was a lot of information to digest. Regardless of how you feel, we know the economy is going to be hurting for a little while, and time will only tell how long. Hopefully we can come out of this sooner rather than later. In the meantime, take care of each other. Be kind, because we are all in this together. If you have any questions about this topic or how COVID-19 is affecting the housing market, please reach out directly or comment here. We are here to help in any way that we can. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification so you know when I post new videos. I hope you all stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.